Hello and welcome back. Well, today I'm going to help out my friend Kevin from the Woodturners Club. And speak of the devil, there he is now. Today we're going to be working on a tool rest for his lathe. This here is a stock standard tool rest that came with my lathe. And you can see the issue here. Once you get the tool rest on center, this sharp corner down the bottom here can dig into your bowl. So it's a bit of a problem, and that's what we're here to solve today. This is a tool rest I made a while ago, and it addresses this problem. That's because it's got a curved area and a tapered area under here, and that's the type of tool rest we're going to make. Now this is my go-to tool rest I use almost every day, and it works great. Although sometimes I'm missing a piece on this side, particularly if it's a large bowl and the banjo doesn't fit under the bowl. So what we decided to do here was add another 50mm on that side, or 2 inches, just to make the tool rest a little bit longer on the left hand side. And that will be an upgraded tool rest, and because Kevin cannot have a better tool rest than me, I've got this other piece of steel, and Kevin is going to help me build my tool rest as well. Here's a bit of 25mm steel that we're going to use for the shaft. Kevin bought his piece along and it was the perfect length. We set up Kevin's piece of steel in a square collet block at 48 degrees, and I'm just a little bit worried about the height here. It's quite a big distance and that could cause a problem. Anyway, I give the apprentice the job of milling out the shaft. These cuts are only 0.2 of a millimeter, so about 8 thou for each cut. We're just taking it very easily. Off camera we had a bit of a disaster. You can see here that the flute has a big chip going up the spiral, and that's because that part moved in the vise, or the whole collet block did, and it's damaged the tool. So now, instead of having a 4 flute end mill, Kevin's going to be carrying on with a 3 flute end mill. While Kevin's milling out those 2 shafts, I'm busy cutting these pieces of 10mm steel. And because we're making 2 tool rests, there's 2 pieces to cut out. Once I've cut the lengths off, then I'm just following the lines to cut off the other pieces. And in this case I just break the last bit off. Now I mark out for the angle piece. This is 10mm down the side of the steel bar, and that line should be down the center, which it isn't, so I have to cut just off that line. These are long cuts going up the side here to make a vertical face on the tool rest once it's all been welded together and in the tool post. And again, we're making 2 tool rests, so I've got to do 2 of these. Once the basic shape has been hacked out, then I go over to the belt grinder and just clean up all the rough angle grinder marks and make everything nice and smooth. I do that to the bottom of the tool rest on both sides. These things get a little hot, so I quench one of them and I grab the other one out of the water and work on that for a little while, and then swap them over again. And then I move on to the angled face, and it's just a matter of cleaning this up. Now these tool rests will be blued at the end, and at the moment they have some paint on them which is really hard to get off. I've tried using flap discs in the past, they just get clogged up. So what we decided to do here was use some paint stripper, and this made pretty quick work of getting that stuck on paint off those tool rests. Once the paint stripper has been washed off the tool rests, Kevin does a final clean up with a flat disc to take it down to bare metal. I've got to say, these dog clamps that I made a while ago are very handy to hold these flat items on the bench. The next step is to weld the shafts onto the tool rests. They were tacked on, we check them in the lathe, and then we run some nice heavy welds around there. As I always say, it don't look pretty, but it ain't gonna fall off. The tool rests are both all welded up, ready to go. So the last part here is to clean them all down in acetone before we blue them. This is pretty important. You'll notice that I am really cleaning these a lot because you've got to get every little bit of grease and grime out of there so that the bluing solution will work properly. I'm using this Birchwood Perma Blue. It's pretty expensive, but it works pretty good. So that goes into the ice cream container, and then we just have a brush and we brush the blue onto the steel, and you'll see that it changes colour very, very quickly. Just like with the cleaning with the acetone, I'm brushing this thing on quite a lot, and I go over the same areas many times. The goal is to get a nice uniform black colour. Once the bluing is complete, the parts are washed off in water to stop that reaction and to clean off the bluing solution. Then they're dried off with the air hose. Then we put quite a bit of oil on them to let that soak in. There are the two tool rests there, finished and well oiled up, so we'll just let that soak in and we can wipe off the oil a little bit later. Here's the new tool rest. As you can see here, we put the bowl over the tool rest. We have it on the center there, and we have a nice curved piece and a taper piece underneath here. So no chance of the tool rest hitting the bottom of the bowl. I have the tool rest sitting in the banjo on my lathe. Sits in there nice and level and just fits in perfectly, and you can tilt it round to wherever you want to set it. I've gone out to Kevin's place and he's got the tool rest in his banjo here on the lathe. This bowl is probably not a good example because it's quite a shallow, large bowl. But for deeper bowls with a smaller diameter, these tool rests are really, really good to get right inside the bowl when you're turning. Well, there you go. The two tool rests are finished and completed. And we got these all done in probably about 3 to 4 hours. And I think we're both pretty happy with them. That's pretty much for this video. So once again, thanks for watching.